What is happening really with regard to this?
I have listened to former Prime Minister Raila Odinga on the issue of the GMOs. I've also listened to Honorable Cherargei, Senator, on the issue of the GMOs against the background of the 10 million bags of maize that are to be imported.
Correct.
Within the 6-month period, as well as against the backdrop of the lifting of the 10-year ban that had been imposed in 2012 on the GMOs. In fact, let us appreciate that the issue of GMOs remains a very significant headlining political, media, and health issue. Now, in 2012, the decision of the Kibaki cabinet to ban the GMOs was predicated on what I can say a fairly controversial research by a French scientist, Eric Seralini, that found that actually rats had contracted cancer upon ingestion of GMO food, actually maize. And that was a great concern. In Africa, we know very many other countries, Algeria, Egypt, that have got laws prohibiting or restricting GMOs. When you go to a country like New Zealand, there is a total ban on GMOs.
Right.
So it is interesting, and actually it should have been followed by a serious advisory and notes on what informed the lifting of the 10-year ban by the cabinet. Additionally, when you look at it historically, you realize that from around 1980s is when Kenya began the journey or beating the path of entertaining the issue of GMOs. And from that period, we have seen various legislative and even institutional frameworks being put in place for matters to do with biotechnology. Today, we have got the National Biotechnology Act of 2009 that established the National Biotechnology Authority. That authority has got the powers to do with the issue of the importation, transportation, and even utility of everything to do with biotechnology in this country. Since the lifting of the ban by the cabinet, we have not had a single word from the National Biosafety Authority, which actually brings together various stakeholders, whether they are farmers, researchers, intellectuals, and even other institutions that have to do with the issue of biotechnology. Additionally, let us remember that when you listen to the remarks and concern ourselves with the issues of a GMO, we have to look at it from the perspective of Article 46 of the Constitution, which provides for consumer rights. And we also have got the Consumer Protection Act 2012 that provides for the safety of all consumers of products in this country, and in fact also outlines punitive measures for persons that violate the provisions of the Consumer Protection Act. Curiously too, COFEC, the Consumer Federation of Kenya, has not concerned itself or raised its voice critically on this issue of GMOs. And it is important, therefore, that the government comes out to protect Kenyans against the myriad concerns to do with genetically modified foods. Remember that when you look at Article 2, Sub-Article 6 of the Constitution, it provides that every or any treaty and convention that has been ratified by Kenya provides or becomes or forms part of the laws of Kenya. Now, in 1993, we had the Cartagena Protocol, which is actually the universal, solely independent and authoritative mechanism that provides for various protocols, mechanisms on biosafety that protects consumption, research, transportation, and utility of anything to do with biotechnology. And then we've got also the various World Trade Organization frameworks. For example, we have got the sanitary and phytosanitary guidelines. We have got the General Agreements on Trade and Tariff by the World Trade Organization, the IPPI as well. All these frameworks are very instrumental on protecting the safety of human beings in terms of consumption of GMOs. Now here locally, we know very well that in 2012, we had the formulation of regulations by National Biosafety Authority on the issue of GMOs. But We know that at that time the constitution was still nascent and its implementation had just commenced. The issue of even public participation had not been given utmost attention the way public participation now has been reinforced by various judicial decisions, whether it was the Justice Odunga decision in 2015 concerning the Kiambu Public Participation Act, and even up to the Court of Appeal and even the Supreme Court, on the necessity of proper and satisfactory public participation. And so I think listening to various actors, I would say that it calls for a revisiting of the national regulations on biosafety, on GMOs and biotechnology in this country that were formulated in 2012, so that there is sufficient, adequate, proper public participation. Some of things may need to be reworked, rethought through. But then again, we know very well that when it comes to GMO seeds that will now take root in Kenya, to what extent have farmers in Kenya been apprised of the consequential effect of the GMOs?
All right.
Now, we know very well that Kenya does not have food sufficiency. Okay. And that's why it has depended on regional and international markets for importation of various cereals, etc. Now, with the entry, for example, of the 10 million bags within this period, to what extent is the safety assured of Kenyans? There are matters health as well. Now, curiously, while the CS for Trade, Moses Kuria, has spoken, and even comically on the issue of GMOs being part of the 1,001 ways to die in Kenya, we have not had any serious deliberations on this issue by the CS for Agriculture or even the CS for Health.